Hey there, guys. This is Slamzeron, aka YouTube's Tosuke. It's been a hot second, but that's okay because today I'm going to review Warriors Orochi 4 as part of the Warriors Orochi series of 4 games. Technically more, depending on how you look at the entire series as a whole. In fact, as I'm recording this, it's already been announced that there's going to be a Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate coming out. In Japan, it's going to be coming out in December of 2019, and in North America and Europe, it's going to be coming out February 2020. Yes, I do have the Wikipedia page open, so I can, have the release date facts, and I also have notes that, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to write those notes for the podcast episode of this review, which I've already recorded. So I'll try to have them go up around the same time. So if you want to listen to that, there'll be a link in the description if you want to hear me ramble about the game before recording this. But yeah, decided to go ahead and finish it. I've actually had it done for a while, and I kind of had it on the back burner just because I was getting kind of burned out from all the Dynasty Warriors games, because it seemed like last year, like the year before, it seemed like nearly everything I was playing was either a Dynasty Warriors clone or some spin-off, And it got to a point where it get kind of tiring. There was literally a part where I was so tired that I was playing a mission and I was getting sleepy. So I had to kind of take a little bit of an extended break. But when I finally got back to it, I kind of got back into the groove a little bit and was enjoying it again. So I decided to go ahead and finish it. Mainly in prep for Shenmue 3, because that's going to be eating up my time a fair amount. And y'all know that I've been playing some other stuff as well. Like you saw the Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition video, and I assume you guys saw the Sekiro stream from a few nights ago, or mainly probably a month now since that's been done. But enough behind the scenes bullshit. Let's get on to the review. So I will go ahead and say that I played the PS4 version. For those interested, it's for PS4, Xbox One, PC. I assume Steam. I suppose it could be also on maybe Humble Indie Bundle. I doubt it though. And then also Nintendo Switch. So it's on pretty much everything. I don't think it has any advantages to playing on like PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X or anything like that. I imagine even Nintendo Switch dock mode, probably marginal differences. I do know that the game will at least run pretty well. Because I know that was sort of a slight concern with Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, for example. Just it's sort of like a comparison of like Nintendo consoles. I know that's also on the Switch now as well, but I still have the Wii U version. But yeah, anyway, I played the PS4 version, and I did do the save data backup thingy that you can do, or save data carryover, where if you had Warriors, I think it was specifically Warriors Orochi 3, not Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, which I found pretty interesting, because I do remember, I know it's been a while, but I do remember having to re-download the original Warriors Orochi 3 because I had to do something with my save data or something, or like I don't know specifically what happened, but I remember I had to like sort of download that to sort of carry over the save data. And basically all it is like based on how many total kills you had, which I assume it had to count Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate. Or if it didn't, I'm surprised it even reached this, because apparently I reached a pretty high number. Now the thing is though, it caps at a certain amount, and then it'll just give you like a bunch of experience points. I think it gives you like max experience points. Like I think like now 9,999 for. I think I probably had like maybe a total of like 1,000. I don't know. Like I'm guessing. I'm sure if I looked at it and like, because you could still like redo the save data carry everything. I'm sure if I did that again, I'd be like, oh, you killed this many people. It's like, okay, cool. And also, if you had save data for Dynasty Warriors 9, you got Dynasty Warriors 9 costumes for select female characters. Like, I think it was, one of them was a Wang Yuanji. And I'm sure probably a Guan Yingping as well. I don't recall, but I do remember for Wang Yuanjing. For those who, like the Dynasty Warriors 9 costumes, but want to pretend that they're playing a traditional Dynasty Warriors game, which that's one thing I remember they were bringing up with this game, that they stressed with this game, was that it was going to be like, your regular Dynasty Warriors game. And it is. It plays just like how you would expect. They don't do anything fancy. with the formula like they did with Dynasty Warriors 9, which I'm glad, because even though I kind of was okay with Dynasty Warriors 9, it was still a little disappointing for the gameplay to be how it was, but it was pretty fun. But I guess I'll go into the story at this point. So like I said, I do have notes. I had to go through like my screen because I took a lot of screenshots. I had to go through and look like, wait, how did the story go? So basically, it opens with Zeus is using the Ouroboros bracelets to bring the Dynasty Warriors peeps and the Samurai Warriors peeps together, because he's all like, hey, let's bring these peeps together. And Athena is there, Ares is there. They spell it Ares. I don't know if that's like, politically correct or whatever for the character, but that's how they spell it. Though I'm pretty sure they mean Ares. And then they show a mysterious guy coming in, stealing them, and he's like, "What? Stop it!" And then it fades into the Dynasty Wars, where it's specifically a Juron and Luxuan, or Luxun. Because I remember in 7 they did an Uin thing with all the UN characters. And then it goes to the first characters we start with, the first 3, which are Naotora-e, Naomasa-e, and Tadakatsu Hondo, which I thought was kind of an odd choice because it's all Samurai Warriors characters. I don't know if they did that because Samurai Warriors 4 was the more recent of the 2 besides the Dynasty Warriors 8, which I will also note that which you could probably cue into by the fact that Dynasty Warriors 9 costumes was DLC. This game brings together, for those who don't know, I'll start at the beginning. Warriors Orochi is the franchise that brings Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors together. And in this one, they brought over Dynasty Warriors 8 and Samurai Warriors 4. So all characters from both of those games. And for Dynasty Warriors, they bring over, it's specifically using Dynasty Warriors 8 Empire. So any characters that appeared, and that one, I think it's like Shun Yu was like the newest guy. He showed up. And any characters that had like any updated weapons from that game, they're using their updated weapons with probably some minor bouncing things. So those of you who are hoping for like his name's Joe Kong from Dynasty Warriors 9, or in my case Masayuki Sanada from Spirit of Sanada, no, it's just Dynasty Warriors 8 and Samurai Warriors 4. So you're getting your Shun Yu, you're getting him, and your Eugene and Uejin, and then also your Nobuyuki Sanada, your Naomasa-e, as I just mentioned, which I actually was kind of glad that he got in, or that he was one of the first characters you got, because I actually do kind of like his playstyle. He's one of like my favorites. My team was pretty vanilla knowing me at least, though I did have more Dynasty Warriors people. I think I'd have to count again. I'm sure as I'm recording the gameplay footage, I'll be like, oh no, I actually had like an equal amount, or no, actually I had more Samurai Warriors people. But yeah, I found it very strange that they were giving us, even knowing that I'm pretty sure Samurai Warriors 4 came out after Dynasty Warriors 8, so it was technically as far as this game's development cycle was concerned, the latest game in either respective series. I found it kind of strange, though I was kind of happy that we, got like a decent amount of peeps, or at least some interesting amount of peeps. But yeah, as they go through, they see some Chinese soldiers, and they're all like, what the fuck? And so they decide to go further and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? And they're all like, evil! And like, we're not evil. And then Lu Bu shows up, and he's all like, hey, let's fight, dog. And so they do okay with Lu Bu, but then he basically goes Super Saiyan. That's due to the Ouroboros bracelet. I know I'm talking about the story. I'm going to try not to do this, but I'm talking about the story knowing everything that I know now from the story. So you'll have to forgive me if I speak at it in sort of like a post sort of way, and not sort of like as the story is going along kind of thing. Because obviously we don't know what the Ouroboros bracelets are at that early point in the story. But yeah, Lu Bu has the Ouroboros bracelets, basically turning him into a god. And he beats people up. And then later, they meet up with, because they're trying to sort of like get their bearings, and they set up like a little base somewhere, and they're trying to figure out, okay, we need to find more allies. There they meet Sun Quan and a few others, and they make allies. And they meet up with Liu Bei, Shingen Takeda, and Kenshin Uesugi, and they form the Coalition Army, and they're waging war with Nobunaga Oda, who also has a bracelet. Meanwhile, we also see, fan favorite Warriors Orochi character Daji, who I hate. She's a hoe. They show her being all like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm gonna do some stuff with Orochi." Yeah, that's her theme song. So that's one thing, and then Perseus, a character named Perseus, shows up, who is looking all mythical and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to help. These are the Ouroboros bracelets. We need to use these to stop Nobunaga and then also stop Zeus." So that's kind of how things go. And so at this point, you're kind of just defending against Nobunaga's army while also trying to gain your forces and get more of the Ouroboros bracelets. In fact, I think at this point, Athena and Ares are now fighting against you. Though I guess you could say they're actually fighting against Perseus. But yeah, so that's basically what's going on at this point. And when you finally have everything you need and you go fight Nobunaga, it turns out that, lol, I was just kidding, guys. It turns out I was just kidding. Zoo. The game is sub-only, I guess I should go ahead and say, which makes sense considering Samurai Warriors 4 technically was never dubbed. I know the anime that Funimation put out, they cast, I think, pretty much all the major characters that would appear in the game, but as far as this game's concerned, they didn't bring those actors over. They didn't bring in anyone from 3 and then mix and match with what they had or recast people from 4. The entire game is sub-only. Which also works out well because Warriors Orochi 3 was also sub-only. Actually, speaking of the voice acting real quick, it was pretty standard. I'll jump in there because, if you've been playing the Dynasty Warriors games for a while and are used to this, then you probably know what everyone sounds like. I had kind of forgotten how low pretty much all of the Dynasty Warriors characters' voices were. Like, they all sounded pretty low, and it's kind of funny because there are a handful of people that are pretty prolific in the anime world, like Uejin, for example. He's Kintaro Ito, I believe, and it sounds kind of like him, but it's or how he normally sounds. But of course, I know him as Chester from Tales of Phantasia, and of course, Jahodun is Kazuya Nakai, who he sounds pretty much how you would expect. Let's see who else. Kosuke Toriumi plays somebody, I forget their name. It's the guy with the weird drill, or the weird saw hammer thing. And then obviously the lead Zhao Yun is played by Masaya Onasaka, who Zelos and Tales Symphonia, as well as Birder, and a number of in Dragon Ball and other characters. But Zhao Yun is probably my favorite role of his. And then the Samurai Warriors characters, that's filled with more modern anime folk, I think. Some older ones as well. Mitsuhide Akachi is voiced by Hikaru Midorikawa, who, he's Leon in Tales of Destiny. He's now Tien in Dragon Ball, and he's also Android 16. And he was Pikkon as well. He's voiced a few Dragon Ball people and whatnot. And then, of course, Yukimura Sanda, Takashi Kusao, Cress and Trunks, and used to be Adol, and he's a number of other characters. I noticed here that he seemed a little less sort of hype. That was one thing I had noticed, particularly when he's doing his Muzo attack. He sounded a little more low-key. I don't know if that was to preserve his voice, or I don't know if he was doing Dragon Ball Super when this game was being recorded. I don't know exactly where they were throwing this in. But overall, he still did okay. It was nice to hear him. He still brought his, typical A game. And, also Nobuyuki is voiced by Daisuke Ono, another sort of, bigger name. It was kind of nice to hear him. I actually kind of like Nobuyuki. And, of course, Naomasai Katsuyuki Konishi, who's Lloyd in Tales Symphonia, and is Captain Ginyu in Dragon Ball. It's cool to hear him because he's also Toshie Maeda. So, and like, just different voice actors, of different kind of like levels. Like I'll mention here that Tadakatsu Honda's Tesho Genda, who's a bit of a more prolific guy. He's really prolific in Dragon Ball. He voices like 1 million characters in Dragon Ball. And then of course he was also Mighty Kongman, or Bruiser Kong, or whatever you want to call him, in Tales of Destiny, among other roles. But just different people. And of course, for the new characters, they cast new people. Some of them sounded similar. I didn't look them up, so I don't know who's who, but a lot of them did sound pretty similar. Again, I'd have to look for myself to really know for sure. But yeah, that's just my little aside on the voice actors. So to get back on track, turns out Nobunaga, lol, I was just kidding, guys. I was only testing you guys so we could get all the Ouroboros bracelets that we have and make a portal from the Mystic Realm so that Nuwa, I think Susanoo, or Susanoo technically, Kaguya, Neza, and I think Taigon Wong, he might be coming in later, but basically some other standard Warriors Orochi characters show up to help the good guys, which that was really interesting. I was particularly, for one thing, with Neza, they give you his sort of standard like robotic form, and then they give you his human form. Because I remember Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, they introduced his human form. Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate, thinking about it, was actually a very interesting game for this franchise. I think I might have talked about it in the review, and I think I streamed it as well. I don't remember. I don't have the archive for that to like make it look real nice, I'm afraid. So, but I'm pretty sure it's up there. But that was actually pretty interesting because that extra story mode goes into sort of like the history on Orochi, who's sort of like the main bad guy, and sort of goes into like what happened to him, or at least a version of him. Because in Warriors Orochi 3, they fight Orochi X, who is like a different kind of Orochi, sort of like they call him the god of destruction. They say Hakaishin, and I'm like, this is Dragon Ball. No, but yeah, that Orochi is basically a god of destruction. That's gonna come into play later on. But yeah, so yeah, it turns out Nobunaga like, yeah, I wasn't actually fighting against you guys. I was just trying to kind of almost look like I was testing you, and you're gonna see that a lot here. So be warned. So at this point, gathering our forces with Perseus and all these other people in the Coalition Army. I think I mentioned that's what they're being called. They're being called the Coalition Army. If I already mentioned that, sorry, but if I didn't, yeah, they're called the Coalition Army. And it's kind of, that's really the big draw, I think, of the Warriors Orochi games, is that you get to see all these like clever people kind of come together and sort of like strategize with each other and see how they would react to each other and like these what if scenarios. Like ever since Dynasty Warriors, really Dynasty Warriors 9, funnily enough, Joshu is probably one of my favorite strategists. I think he's so freaking cool, and just seeing him strategize stuff I thought was really cool. Because I'd played so many of the games in recent times and the different spin-offs and watched the anime, seeing like Mitsunari and all of them, which I'm going to get to in a minute, and like these different samurai warrior strategies, that was really cool. You would think with all these characters coming together for the 4th time, they would be all like, hey bro, how's it going? Remember that time that we fought the Hydra? Hell yeah. No, they don't actually remember anything. And this kind of comes into play a little bit in terms of the game mechanics, because they have like these your base, you don't get to walk around it like you could in Warriors Orochi 3. You have to, it's like a little menu thing, and occasionally when characters like become more friendly with each other, you can trigger like little events where they talk about each other and stuff, or talk about different things. Like I think it's Sun Quan and then Nobuyuki, and they're talking about their brothers and how like they're different sides and different stuff. Kotaro Fuma has a dialogue with one of the secret characters, Hundun, which I'll get into later on. You might have to remind me, Lols, if you can actually talk to me. You'll say in the comments, "Hey, you forgot to mention Hundun." No, I'll mention Hundun when I decide to mention Hundun. But yeah, at this point, to get further back on track, I know this is my style, but I do like to have some sense of coherency. But yeah, at this point, along with Ares and Athena, you're now fighting against Sao P and Mitsunari Ishida. Nobody from the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors team seems to remember. That being said, they do take into account that, like, well, wait a minute. If this person, even though this person doesn't remember things, like, or especially because this person doesn't remember things, well, if they see their buddy, why are they fighting each other? That does come into play a little bit, like with Zhao Yun. I think it's called the Liberation of Zhao Yun. The whole reason why he joins the good guys is because I think it's Liu Bei's son, Liu Shan, joins the team, good guys team. For some reason, seeing Liu Bei is like, yeah, fuck you, Liu Bei, you're not cool anymore, even though we're sworn brothers. I'm like an honorary. I think because it's like I believe Guan Yu, Liu Bei, and then Zhang Fei are like the sworn brothers, and Zhao Yun is one of the 5 Tiger Generals, I think they're called, as well as the poster boy for this for at least the Dynasty Warriors side of the franchise. But situation like that where it's like, oh, my master's on your team, oh shit, I better join your team. And then of course there are others where it's like I think it was usually Pong Da who would be this way. It's like, wait a minute, you're on the good guy, you're on the other team, well, I guess I better give it my all. And then, like, you know, all that stuff, like, I'm sorry, there are some characters like Cao Cao where he's like, oh, you're on the other team, huh? Well, let's see if you can handle my strategy, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, they kind of play with that. And of course, you know, Cao Cao being one of the more thoughtful characters, you know, he suspects what's truthfully going on. You might start to see the trend if you've been paying attention. I say if you've been paying attention, even though I've only given you evidence of like one trend, if you can even call it that. But yeah, you're fighting Sao P and Mitsunari, and I don't know if this is before or after the next section of the story, quote unquote. But at some point, Perseus is all like, hey guys, guess what, JK, I was Loki the entire time. And like he transforms himself into like a white-haired, blue-wearing, like, you know, Mikleo looking guy. He's like, and of course Yukimura's pretty upset because he and Perseus, or who we thought was Perseus, were actually pretty close buddies. They're like, sup, bruh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, you're kind of not cool. I was like, no, I am cool. So there's like, but he was our friend. I can't believe for a second that Loki would ever do this. Master Loki, why? So yeah, everyone's all like, why? He was our pal. But now he's actually with the bad guys. So it's like, yeah, I was just trying to get you guys to get the Ouroboros bracelet so I could like take them all or something. Now in regards to Sao P and Mitsunari Ishida, they low-key are bullying Ares. It's like, you're dumb. It's like, oh, you think you know how people work? And I think on some level, Ares probably knew, like, yeah, they're going to betray me. Because, lo and behold, Sao P and Mitsunari Ishida leaves first. He joins the good guys, and then Sao P comes in later, after you get Cao Cao and Shahodun. Which I guess I could go ahead and say that my team ended up being Yukimura Sanada, as you could probably imagine. Then it was Sun Chuan, who ended up being the friggin' MVP of the whole damn game. He friggin' wrecked shit hardcore. One thing about this particular game that I kind of realized as I was playing through is that, especially given how Samurai Warriors 4 introduced a new sort of like strong attack for the characters, whereas instead they would just do like a strong attack, now they do like a charge attack. I think they call that the hyper attack. Whereas Dynasty Warriors gets the charge attack. Obviously, the weapon switch mechanic is taken out. Here, it's something else entirely called the Sacred Treasures, where characters get like cool, like magical weapons. And this comes into hand when you're fighting magical enemies like Cyclops and Griffins. And then, or Cyclopses, or Cyclopsi, or whatever. And then there's these things called Chaos Origins, what you're basically supposed to just spam your magic attacks with. Which some of them were pretty cool. Like Yukimura had like this weird, I forget what it was, but he had like this weird ring thing that was pretty useful that I used a lot. Of course, he also was one of the few characters who got one of the Ouroboros rings, so that's another reason why I kept him in my party, because I wanted sort of like that beef character, and he gets all cool looking and stuff, and he gets all beefed up, and I would always use that, like, when I would hit, like, big final battles where, like, okay, yeah, bam, 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 and I always, like, wreck shit. Whereas everyone else gets rage attacks, which is pretty cool. One thing I learned, getting back to my point, is that the Samurai Warriors characters are really good for moving forward in hordes of enemies while still attacking. So if you want to just keep moving forward without even, like, managing the crowd too much, and you just want to keep pushing forward, they're really good for that. The Dynasty Warriors characters I found are really good for, like, controlling the crowd and, like, bringing it down a lot. So, like, if you're playing multiplayer and you're playing, you want to be someone who kind of focuses on taking down the enemy and maybe letting your buddy or somebody kind of help, like, focus on the main task while you kind of play the sidelines, I think playing a Dynasty Warriors character is probably best for you. Or if you're the type where you want to kind of move forward and, like, get a lot of shit done, I would say maybe stick with a Samurai Warriors character. Not saying that you have to do that way for either one. Obviously, you can do either one if you want. That's just sort of kind of how I handled the situation. I also kind of found that as you level up, your character gets faster in different ways, and you can augment your character in different ways. But another way I found with Yukimura, because he got the double jump, he and Sun Quan had the double jump, but Xiahou Dun didn't. He was my other character, so it was Yukimura, Sanada, Sun Quan, and then Xiahou Dun, which Yukimura and Xiahou Dun are, like, my mainstays from Warriors Orochi 3. Sun Quan switching over Muneshige Tachibana. So, yeah, that was my team. Xiahou Dun was, like, the heavy hitter, and he had, like, the trident one where you could basically surf on the enemy. In terms of his sacred treasure. But real quick, with Sun Quan, or Chuan, I still can't figure out how I'm supposed to pronounce their names. He had a freaking Kamehameha for one of his, and that was beastly. Like, that did a hell of a lot of damage. And of course, he had, like, it was like a mirror. Speaking of Shenmue, he had a mirror that he could shoot a Kamehameha with, or a fireball. But yeah, with Yukimura, I found a way to where, like, if you do the charge attack and then go into the double jump, and you can cancel it by doing his down triangle. I'm saying triangle, but, like, his down hyper attack, where, like, he pierces the ground and stabs it. Like, that was a good way of, like, moving really quickly. And of course, when the horses really helped well. And of course, once you get Lu Bu near the end of the damn game, they give you his horse, which is supposed to be a super fast horse, but yeah. So that's just something to kind of think about gameplay wise. Obviously, you can do it how you want. In fact, one thing I actually really like about this game, a couple of things. One, there's sort of like a gauntlet sort of capture the flag mode that's built into the game. Two, for DLC, there's a survival mode, which I think is perfect for Dynasty Wars. That's actually one thing that I was really happy that some of these other spin-off games like it's been out for a while, or several years, but Saint Seiya Sanctuary Battle had a survival mode. That was actually a really good addition. And then also, if you just want to try out characters, there's a mock battle mode where you can change your party, like, in the menu, like mid thing, and they put you just, like, in a field, and you can just fight random enemies. And you just keep doing that over and over. And that's actually, I think, really cool and really useful if you want. If you had a few characters that you played as, but you didn't really play as everyone, or if you're new to this particular version of Dynasty Warriors, like, say you have someone like, oh, well, I played Dynasty Warriors 4 back in the day on the PS2 when I was but a young lad, but I haven't played a Dynasty Warriors game since. I want to see what these new characters are all about. And that, of course, you probably have to do that because they really kind of up the gameplay a bit, in my opinion. But that was really useful, and I used that to kind of try out some new characters. I really like Eugene. He's pretty cool. Because he seemed almost like a Dynasty Warriors Yukimura, which I know this was like, wait, isn't that Zhao Yun? It's like, I mean, technically, but I don't like the way Zhao Yun plays. I don't like how his spear kind of, like, curves. Like, I almost feel like I'm thwacking people a little too much, whereas Yukimura, his fighting style feels very... you can see me kind of playing as him, how I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like, he's a little bit more stable, I think. Not saying that, you can't have fun playing as a Zhao Yun, but between the two, I definitely prefer to play as Yukimura. So, yeah, at this point, you've gotten your peeps, and now you're ready to go fight Zeus. Who you go fight Zeus, and you're like, Zeus, why'd you bring us all together, and why are you doing all this stuff with the Ouroboros bracelet? And he's all like, yeah, I kind of just wanted to fight you guys. That's the only reason. He literally just wanted to fight. He's like, yeah, I just want to fight you guys. Ares gets pissed and just kills him. So he kills his daddy Zeus and takes his power. And then Odin comes in and is like, ha ha ha, my plan is realized. Come Loki and Ares, let's join forces, and Athena too. Let's do bad stuff. And of course at this point, Loki's really the only one who's sort of kind of on his side. And I say that because, reasons. But Athena is kind of wavering a little bit. I'll go ahead and say she eventually joins your team. So does Ares. After Ares, you kind of beat up. Athena, it's more of like a common enemy thing, and then finally she's all like, "Okay, yeah, I'll join you guys now." And I believe it's during the fight with Zeus that Orochi X shows up, or one. It's either both. I think one. Daji in the background was trying to get Orochi to come back. That's sort of what her thing was. They show Shuten Doji, who doesn't even show up in the story at all besides this point. He joins the party at the end, but just so they can be like, hey, here's your team. This game apparently got a Guinness World Record for having the most amount of playable characters, and I think it was like 170 something, I believe. 174 characters, and of course with Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate, they've already announced like a handful of the people. I think it's like 176, maybe even 177. And who knows how many characters they're going to add. I hope they add in some more people from Spirit of Sanada and all the other people from 9. That actually would be perfect. But yeah, somehow or another, both Orochi show up, which I think has been done before, but it's still pretty crazy. And then suddenly everyone's like, oh, I remember now. Rightfully so, Kaguya was kind of the only one, or Kaguya was sort of the one who was like, oh, they don't remember me and shit. And like everyone was all like, yeah, that just kind of happens. Like when you get Fushi, and of course, Sun Wukong is kind of, he's something. Like I almost feel like he just kind of does whatever. But yeah, so for those who don't know or don't remember, Kai and Kaguya were best buddies. Like she called Kaguya Kaguchin, and then it's funny. Like he's like, and you can call me, and then Kaguya's like Kaichin, right? Like, yeah. He's like, I remember, girl. I remember the times we had. I remember the times we shared. I remember our first kiss and how we looked at each other. I really felt that. I know you didn't feel that, but I felt that. And I just want to let you know, I'm here for you. I want to be your everything. That's my headcanon right now, that Kaguya is secretly in sexual love with Kai. That's such a that's a weird fucking word. But anyway. So yeah, so Daji and Odin and Ares and Lubin, and of course Ares joins the team. He's trying to like kind of make up for his sin for killing Zeus, and he plans to sacrifice himself to bring back Zeus, because it turns out that's what they got to do to truthfully combat Odin, because Odin's kind of immortal. In fact, there's even a point in the one of the missions where it's like he shows up, and honestly, I don't think it was intended to be this way. I think you're supposed to avoid him. Like, you will not pursue Odin, if you catch my drift. But I feel like because of the way the mission became at that point, I had to fight him every single time. Because he would always come right next to someone who was vital to the mission, to where if they died, the mission failed. And they were low on health anyway, and they kept being all like, help me. Although I don't think they really truthfully needed help. So I had to basically go over there and rush every single time. And I got to a point to where I could actually beat him. And then finally I had to kind of take a chance to be like, okay, I'm sorry, but I got to continue this. Otherwise we're not going to continue. I don't know what happens if I'm pretty sure the game has a time limit too. Like, they don't tell you, but I'm pretty sure there's a time limit. So we had to deal with that, and that was kind of a pain. But we got it done, and I think even in the end, it was all like, you have to fight Odin now. I'm like, okay, fine. I've already beaten him like 5 times, which I'm pretty sure I got a trophy for beating him like 5 million times. I think the same thing happened with Lubu, because it was him and then Lubu. Odin and Lubu kept coming back, and they were both pretty beefy. The game actually wasn't really that hard. I played it on normal, but there were a couple of times where it got kind of tough. And I kind of had to play my cards right. I only got like a couple or maybe a few game overs. But, you know, of course, there's no real consequence. It's not like a Souls game where, like, you know, you lose. Not even like Sekiro where, like, they have it, but even then there's a chance where they won't have it. Have it, H-A-L-V, not have. And then they're going to be like, hey, we're going to take this and just have it in our possession. As in they cut it in half. I imagine you guys probably picked up on that, but yeah, so that was kind of a pain to deal with. But yeah, we're able to revive Zeus, but then he has to get his powers back, where you have to go to Loki, and Yukimura uses his friend powers to convince Loki to give the weapon back, his staff, which Loki was constantly like, why am I hesitating? And that's one thing. I'll bring that up later on during the complaints section, because I do actually have that's probably my biggest gripe is the story, which I hate to say that, but yeah. So and it's also, you know, explained at this point that what Odin is trying to do is use his god powers that he actually took from Ares. So now Odin is like, even though they revived Zeus, Odin still has like his god powers. So on his little like broom thing that he rides on, thinking he's a cool witch or whatever. So he's like, yes, I'm cool. Paint my toes. He doesn't actually say that, but it'd be funny if he did. But he's trying to summon the Yggdrasil tree, and I think he's trying to absorb it to like basically reset the world, or use its power to reset the world and start anew. Because if I'm remembering correctly, he somehow cheated death, but he's still like just mortifiedly terrified of death on some like subconscious level. So he's trying to like reset everything to make it perfect in his vision, to where like I can't die. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But as you can probably guess, the good guys are able to win. We defeat Odin, we stop the tree, and everything goes back to normal. Everyone goes back to their homes, and they don't remember a thing, which is going to be kind of unfortunate, assuming that Warriors of Orochi 4 Ultimate is all like, hey, you guys have to come back, which it's probably going to be one of those things where it's like, it turns out, oh, hey, we were doing this. Or like it turns out like, hey, we're just kind of hanging out for a while. Because that did happen. Like, you get side missions as well, and a fair amount of them you unlock other characters that way. Like, I know there's one where you got I think it's Musashi Miyamoto and Kojiro Sasaki, I believe. And then there's also one where you get I think it's another character named Juran, I believe, or the Amazon chick, and Meng Huo. You get them, and then I think it's the Ma Dai, the painter guy. You get him through one of the missions as well, and I believe there's someone else that you get as well. Even though I didn't play as other characters, I did have other characters on my because you had assist characters that you can get to kind of help you occasionally, and they also boost your stats in different ways. Like I had a Lu Xun, and then I had a Sima Zhao, and then I had a Naomasa E, and then I think it was Yue Jin. They don't give you like a full thing. Another thing I also kind of didn't like is that you couldn't do the thing that you could do in Dynasty and Warriors of Orochi 3 Ultimate, to where you could have your entire 3-person team on you at all times. I actually thought that was really cool that you could do that, because you could switch between them, and if you do it mid combo, they would have you could do an attack, and also you had a unison attack that you could do where you basically do a friggin' spirit bomb with all of your characters and just wreck shit, and they gave you a lot of points doing that, which that was also really cool. But unlocking all the characters wasn't really too hard. I pretty much have everyone except for a few post-game characters like Yin Long, who is the human version of regular Orochi, and then Tamamona Mai and Kyubi, which was the antagonist of Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate. And I think another character, if I'm not mistaken, you have to unlock them by actually upgrading your base. So it takes pure points. But there's also this character named Hundun, who was introduced, I believe, in Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate through their Gauntlet mode, I think they called it, where like you had to like beat it and then you got him. But here, and of course in that mode, you had like a team of 8 people, which was kind of cool. But here, what would happen is that he would occasionally show up during a mission, and that mission would get a pandemonium difficulty. It basically just like raises the difficulty like a little bit. I don't really think it's not higher than chaos, I don't think. But he would like basically show for a little bit and be like, I'm gonna beat you up, and you have to beat him. And at the point that I was at, I could get to a point to where I could do good damage to him and beat him. But if he hit me like once or twice, I'd be dead. So I had to be real artful on how I beat him. And there were a couple of times where I would have to like restart the mission at the checkpoint, which I actually liked. They had the checkpoints. That was nice. I didn't like how when you beat the mission, it wouldn't take away the HUD like it would in other games. I like that because I liked how that gives you a clear indicator of like, okay, yeah, we've either won or we lost. I actually liked that. Whereas here, it just like locks your attacks to where you can basically just move around or stand there. You can't even jump. You can't even switch characters, but you can still move around. The HUD is still there. So that's a thing. But yeah, and I ended up having to do the Hundun mission twice because I thought that you could just beat one of his missions and then you'd unlock him. But no, you had to beat the game first and then do one of his missions, which, you know, it triggers randomly, and it's a random mission. Like, I actually had to like quit one of the missions because it was too hard for me and wait for him to like take one of the easier missions, which that was a pain. But you know, it is what it is. I was able to get him. I don't have the other characters yet, and I imagine once Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate comes out, I'll probably unlock the other ones. We don't know so far. Joan of Arc and Ryu Hayabusa and Achilles have been announced, as well as a new character named Yang Jian, I believe his name is, or Yang Tiang or something. He's a Japanese god. If you couldn't tell, this game is real big on the mythology, like I think Norse and Greek mythology, as well as technically Japanese mythology because of Susanoo, and also Tamamo no Mai. So that's pretty cool. Looking back, I'm almost wondering if Sophitia being a guest character in Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate was them kind of teasing where the series was going to go, because it was kind of a very random choice. I was really happy to see her, but like it was definitely kind of random, and it makes me kind of wonder if they're going to do the same thing where like they're going to introduce some random guest character and like it's going to be like, oh, this is where the series is going to go. Like, that'd be funny if it turns out like it's some random sci-fi guy or like Snake or something. Be like, yeah, by the way, we're doing a futuristic sort of postmodern Dynasty Warriors game where you can fight fucking Abraham Lincoln or something. I know that's not necessarily postmodern, but you get what I mean. You know, past this era, because with the Dynasty Warriors characters, that's ancient China, so that's like hardcore ancient times. Whereas Samurai Warriors, like if you're a Japanese student, you've probably studied them already. You probably know when the Battle of Sekigahara was, and the Summer Siege and Winter Siege of Osaka. I don't know when they took place. I know about them, but I don't know when. Or you could probably be like, I followed that Gintama episode. I know when the Battle of Sekigahara was. Like, good for you, kid. But, yeah, so I unlocked Hundun. I don't really play as him that much. It's just kind of cool to have him. And, of course, he had a cool, alternate color scheme for his costume, which, by the way, brings me to my next point about the costumes. Or my next point that is about the costumes. The costumes fucking suck. The Dynasty Warriors characters get all these cool, unique costumes. Like, they don't have... It's not like Warriors Orochi 3 where, like, they have all the legacy costumes. So, like, if you want to pretend, like, oh, this is Yukimura from Samurai Warriors 1, or this is Cao from Dynasty Warriors 5, or whatever. Like, you can't do that. They give you, like, these random costumes. None of them are really that particularly interesting. I think Wang Yuanji, her special costume was like friggin' clerk at a convenience store. Like, she was wearing a black button-up shirt with an apron. So it's like, okay, cool. You look like you're here to work, which is, cool. I like your shirt. Would have preferred your school uniform that you wore, even though it's like, the white blazer with the light blue, like turquoise shirt or teal shirt with like a darker turquoise tie or something. Yep. Oh, by the way, speaking of waifus, Lu Bu's daughter, Lu Luinghui, is my new waifu. She's my new Dynasty Warriors waifu. I know she's not really good waifu material. You're probably thinking, bro, you're betraying your Yang Yuanji, but you know what? I might be switching sides. Might be switching sides, y'all. But, yeah, the Dynasty Warriors characters got cool costumes. The Samurai Warriors characters just got their friggin' after-hours costumes where they're all in kimonos and yukata, so basically it feels like they're pajamas. Or just like their regular-ass clothes. Yukimura and a few other people got like a happy coat with like the shorts. And then all the Warriors Orochi characters got palette swaps. Some of them looked pretty cool, like Loki with both his Loki form and his Perseus form, because they do give you both. He gets like a cool dark color scheme. He looks cool. Hoondun had a pretty interesting one because it almost looked like they gave him like Zeus's palette color. So I was like, okay, cool. He's a blonde, very light-skinned monster, which was strange. So that was interesting, which it is definitely cool to see all these cool characters. I don't think I kind of alluded to it, but personality-wise, everyone seemed to be on point, roughly. I can't say I know all these characters as well as a hardcore fan of Dynasty Warriors, where like that's like their main number one thing, to where like me, Dynasty Warriors is probably in like 4th or 5th place. And I mean the series as a whole. I don't mean specifically one or the other. But Neza, because I remember in Warriors Orochi 3, he seemed very sort of like, what's going, like, I don't understand people. Oh, why you're like this? This isn't logical. Whereas here, he's like friggin' spunky. He's like, let's fight. And I'm like, bro, why are you? I kind of get it because I feel like that was sort of what his original personality was, and I think they were trying to kind of merge the personalities a little bit, which I don't know how I feel about that. That was kind of strange, though I can definitely say I definitely prefer his dialogue now than I did then, because that's one thing that I don't really like about this game that kind of hinders things in general is the story. The story overall was okay. That's not really the issue. The issue is the dialogue, particularly the Warriors Orochi characters. Like, the Warriors Orochi 4 characters. It was incredibly, like, weak anime cheese. It's like lots of, I don't understand my feelings. Why do I feel this way? Why am I hesitating? Like, you've probably seen it where, like, an anime girl's crying. It's like, why am I crying? It's like, do you guys... It's like, he's like, eh? Like, they do, like, the... Like, I'm like, do you really not know why you're crying? I don't know, it seems like anime characters never truly understand what's going on. And then there was even one time where near the end Loki was all like, this is what humans are all about. Like, will they succeed or will they fail? I guess we'll just have to see. And I'm just like, you don't need to sell me this fucking game. I already bought it. You don't need to be all like I have this one comic book where it's like, on the back it's all like, will he save the world or will he destroy it? And I'm all like, that's so fucking cheesy. And I feel like here it's like they did it even worse, and it's just like, it's even worse because like I already bought the damn game, and it's near the end too, so it's like it doesn't fucking make a difference. Like, you're not teasing anything. The good guys are gonna win because you know why? Because we're playing the game and we're gonna make sure we fucking win. That's how it works. You can't just do that shit. No sir, no ma'am. And then, of course, like I already mentioned, like, this is what it means to have human resolve. It's all about your heart and stuff like that. And there was occasionally some, humans are weird creatures. I don't understand why. Like, I don't know. It's like everyone doesn't fucking understand things, and everyone's being all like, why am I feeling this way? It's like, I get it. It's human to not understand, but I feel like at some point, people are good to recognize their feelings, and I feel like to be that way is a little unrealistic. I know this is made-up land, but it's like, I feel like made-up land is, made-up land has a few truths in it as well, I think. And I think them being all like, why am I being this way? Why am I touching my chest and grabbing my shirt? I'm not an anime girl. Anime girls do it. By the way, I don't know if you guys know that, but whenever anime girl makes a fist to her chest, she's actually grabbing her shirt. I'm pretty sure, at least. I know Love Live kind of made a joke about that with Kotori, I believe her name was. But anyway, it was just so cheesy. The best characters to listen to were the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors characters. You know, they were a little self-aware too. Like, even some of them were all like I said before with Pongda, he was all like, I don't remember specifically who it was, but it's all like, we're friends. I guess I better give it my all. It's just like, you know, that sort of that resolve to like the way of the warrior, and sort of just like, oh wait, you're on the good guy team now. Okay, well I better join the good guy team then. And how I really liked how Salpi and Mitsunari like really bullied Ares in that one. See, like, it's one of the few like end game cutscenes where like it's like a little mini movie. You could probably find it. It's low key like this is the resolve of humans. They were kind of like that, but I feel like it was still kind of funny. You know, how they were kind of like that. Let's see what else. Otherwise the story was decent. Like I said, the real draw here is for the writers to kind of make an original story and sort of like test how well they know these historical characters. Because even though they are, you know, historical characters, they do kind of have like their own little quirks and personalities that they've developed. And I imagine it's also probably like, well, we don't want to stray too much from history. Like, would Yukimura really say this, or would Cao Cao really say this, or would Nobunaga say this, or Ranmaru Mori, and all that stuff. You know, stuff like that. And it's kind of cool to see how some of these characters would handle fighting each other. Like I said, Jashu is low-key my favorite strategist. I always thought he was like really cool. And he's one of the ones who kind of switched sides sort of like, you know, willingly, and didn't really like. And I remember, and it's funny, like he brings up, I was looking through my screenshot, and he brings up the idea, is like, you know, just because they're working under him doesn't mean they like him. You know, they might be working for him because he defeated them. And he's talking about, you know, how Nobunaga probably defeated a bunch of people. Like, you have to join me. And I was like, oh, okay. They kind of low-key play Jashu as being sort of like a, you know, what do you call it? Like sort of like a trickster, to where like you can't really, you know, understand what he's doing. But of course, you know, he's a good guy. And of course, in Dynasty Warriors 9, his voice actor really killed it. You know, he sounded pretty cool. There's I think his name is Fa Jing. He's part of Shu, and he had like he used like the Toro like Tau cape thing as his weapon, like a little weird blanket or whatever his weapon. His voice was really cool as well, and I liked also hearing Pongda, because, you know, it's fucking Masakazu Morita. One of the few low voice roles I've heard him in. Everyone sounded really cool, and it's nice to kind of listen to everyone. That you can look at, like, I think the biographies of the characters, and I think you can hear voice lines. I don't think there's a cast list. You'd probably have to look that up on your own, but still pretty cool. Yeah, overall, really, the story was probably the weakest part. Everything else was pretty dang good. The only other thing I don't really like is the amount of costumes. At the very least, I think they should have added in the costumes from, you know, from their previous games, just in case you want to like stylize your characters a little bit. Like you know, for the Samurai Warriors characters, give them all the costumes they would have, so like 1, 2, and 3, and then Dynasty Warriors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I guess 8 as well. Same with Samurai Warriors in 4, obviously, because that's their default. So, and just give everyone all the costumes, like, and maybe give the Samurai Warriors characters a cooler, like, I don't know, give them like, I don't think they need to do the mix matching thing that they did in both Warriors All Stars and Warriors Orochi 3. Which I will say this. I do think I kind of like Warriors Orochi 3 a little bit better, because I feel like the story was more interesting, and I feel like the characters were a little more interesting because it wasn't just Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors, and I felt like I had more of a reason to actually care about individual characters versus caring about more about what a character does and who they face. Where that's how it was here. Like, oh, wouldn't it be really cool if Sao P fought Sakon Shima or something? He was another one of my faves. You know, stuff like I wonder what they would say to each other while they're battling on the battlefield. You know, that kind of stuff. The Battle of Chibi-Gahara. See, it's a mix of the Battle of Chibi and the Battle of Sekigahara. Sechigahara. You know, whatever. Sechibigahara. Chibigahara. That's the new war battle zone. But like with Warriors All-Stars, you know, the different, it was more than just Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors. It was just Tecmo Koei as a whole. It got me a chance to kind of experience Haruka Narutoki no Nakade or Haruka Beyond the Stream of Time, which is a visual novel I still want to fucking play. I'm excited for 7. I hope it gets an English version. Got a chance to kind of see that. The music, I think, was also kind of better, too. Where the music here, you know, if Dynasty Warriors is rock music and Samurai Warriors is like techno, Warriors Orochi is like either trance or like dance music. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. They did do a few more remixes, especially for the characters who could become gods. Like for Yukimura, you know, they gave them, you know, Twin Cherry Blossoms, which I was really excited about when I first heard that. Like, oh, this is gonna be in the song. Like, sweet. But like it didn't sound like it sounded okay. I like the choir that they throw into the dun 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 dun. I like that. It's like like they had a cool choir. It makes it sound even more epic. And Zhao Yun's deific theme is Crush 'Em All, which that's a song I actually really like. There was one time where that song came into my head. I'm just like, you know, it's like the. It's actually kind of like a really chill song, and I feel like that's sort of like, to me, that's almost like the anthem of Dynasty Warriors. I know most people probably think of, oh, Welcome to China or Arena, and while I like both of those songs, kind of Arena more, but I feel like Crush 'Em All is like low-key like the anthem, or like sort of like the template of what a Dynasty Warriors song is all about. Also, it was DLC, but the remix of Anegawa, that's a good song. I actually really like that. I have that one on my computer that I like to listen to sometimes. But yeah, overall, the new music's okay. They do throw in some other music as well, and I think they have Twin Cherry Blossoms on its own as well. If I just wanted to like listen, it's probably the Samurai Warriors 4 version, to be honest, as they should. But yeah, the music was okay. I feel like the music in Warriors All-Stars was a teensy bit better. It was lacking Twin Cherry Blossoms, which hearing that and like the Starlit mix, oh, that would have been so cool. If they ever do a Warriors All-Stars 2, which I actually kind of hope they do, they definitely need to throw in Twin Cherry Blossoms with the remix, because technically each song got 3 different tracks, 3 different versions, which was really cool. But also, I also kind of liked how, with all the different, it was a Dynasty Warriors style game, but everyone was kind of put on like the same playing field, and like they even altered some animations. Like Yukimura actually got a real fucking run animation, and his Muso attack was actually changed to like the typical like Dynasty Warriors Muso attack. So it actually was the second one, which was cool. He still had his hyper charge move, which that was okay, because that just makes everyone kind of different. Like everyone kind of had like different or like unique ones. And also the story I think was a little bit more interesting in the new characters. I found them a little more interesting just on an aesthetic level, because I almost felt like I was watching like a Sunday morning girls TV show that shonen anime like came in and sort of like stabilized the girls cartoon TV show and helped it show a more serious sort of like adult side, which I like. I thought that was actually kind of cool. And I liked sort of like the alternate ending that Warriors All-Stars had, whereas here, like as far as I know, there's only the one ending where you beat up Odin and you save the universe. It seemed to be the only real thing you could do. But yeah, overall, like I said, I do like Warriors All-Stars better, but this was still a pretty good game. And if you're looking to kind of get back into Dynasty Warriors after kind of like in my case playing a bunch of them back to back and then like kind of taking a little bit of a break after getting sleepy from playing them, I think the last one I actually played through was actually the one that was like not like a completely different one. It was no, because I'm looking at my collection right now, and I was gonna say Fate Extella, but I think or no, you know what? It might have actually been Fate Extella, because I remember I was gonna not play because I haven't finished Fate Extra, but I'm all like, well, there's no like save data thing, even though this is supposed to be a sequel. But I also got Fate Extella Link, which I need to play through at some point. But yeah, so I think like the last one I played it was either Warriors All-Stars or I'm talking about before Dynasty Warriors 9, because since that one was so different, you could almost say that like that was a different ball game entirely. And of course, I've got Gintama Rumble as well, which I need to eventually play through and talk about. So I guess that's another. Yeah, I really like this genre. It's really fun. I feel like it's sort of like the modern beat 'em up for me, which I grew up playing beat 'em ups. So, you know, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Turtles in Time, all that stuff. So definitely one of my faves. But yeah, overall, I did like the game. Music was a little weak, and overall, it was kind of like just neutral, like, you know, hit or miss, I guess we could say. Story had kind of weak dialogue from the new characters, but otherwise it was decent. The campaign itself is actually kind of short. I mean, obviously I'm talking about just the vanilla game and not Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate, which I imagine will probably bump the total amount of chapters to maybe 8 or 10. The base game had like technically 6 with the side stories, but without the side stories it's just 5. So it actually didn't take that long for me to beat, even though it's taken me a very long time to review. But yeah, so that's kind of the lowdown. Like, so if you are thinking about picking it up, I would say maybe going ahead and getting the original, unless you just want to wait. I know they're doing like a upgrade bonus to where like I think you can get like the Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate for like I think like $30 cheaper. I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably do that, since it's kind of like DLC in a way. Plus, like by buying it, like it's not like you're buying the DLC. Like you're buying the full game with the content added on. So it's a matter of, well, do you want to wait for everything to come out and then play 8 or 10 chapters worth, or do you want to play 5 now, play through it all, wait until February or December, depending on where you are, and then play through the remaining ones, which will be probably like 5 or 6, you know, or however many, like 3, maybe 3, or however many there are. Like, so it's really up to you. I don't even think they're doing the upgrade thing in English yet. We don't know, hopefully, but yeah, overall, pretty decent. Like I said, story was kind of weak, but gameplay was good. Voice acting was, you know, what you would expect, with the exception of Yukimura being a little low-key. Character dialogue from the new characters was weak, but the regular characters, with the exception of fucking Neza, who's being weird, they were all good. Music was hit or miss. I didn't like how, you know, unfair the DLC costumes were, where the Dynasty Warriors characters get cool costumes. Some characters even just, like, I think Eugene got, like, just a red palette swap, which is like, okay, that's cool if I want to play as him and pretend that I have a red boy, but, you know, he looks cool either way. Whereas the Samurai Warriors characters got, like, basically just, you know, after hours or, like, their pajamas or whatever, and the Warriors Orochi characters, which that makes sense, like, they would get palette swaps, because, like, you know, there's only so much they can do there. Like, I think Athena got an extra one because she wore a helmet, and then, like, she decides, I'm not going to wear my helmet no more. And then Loki got his Perseus outfit, which is pretty cool. So, and then other characters, like I think Jahodun had one where he doesn't have his eye patch. Sumashur has one where he doesn't have his mask. Jahoba has one where he doesn't have his helmet. You know, just little stuff like that. But yeah, and there were also there was actually some pretty funny interactions. Like I think there was one where like Hideyoshi was got a rumor that there was some like nice god maiden out there, and like a cow. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go try and find this lady, but I need to. And he gets a Jung Hoi to help him, but he's trying to trick him into thinking that it's a god of good fortune. He's like, no, this isn't like a god of lust. This is a god of good fortune. And then of course Nene comes like, Hideyoshi, my husband, because they're married. So it's like she gets pissed. She gets rightfully pissed that here her husband is trying to bang some goddess chick, which I think it turns out being like a fake goddess. I think it's Hisahide, the spider guy, with like I say the spider guy, but like he was on Nobunaga's team, and he has like this weird spider tattoo on his face, spider web tattoo on his face. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling at this point. So yeah, overall, pretty decent game. Some character dialogue was a little weak, and the music was kind of just hit or miss. But overall, it's a pretty decent game if you want to, get back into the swing of things with Warriors of Orochi, or Dynasty Warriors in general. I feel like that's sort of what this game was for me, because I know like there's probably going to be a few more coming down the line, and I still need to finish some of the other ones that I said, I need to finish, I need to finish Dragon Quest Heroes 2 and Gintama Rumble, which neither one I'm really that far in, and then also Fate Extell Link I need to work through, and I never did give 99 Nights another chance, but that's a subject for another day. So overall, pretty decent game. I think I don't remember what I gave it on my podcast, but I think right now I'm feeling kind of an 8.1. I'm going to put it there. It was a good game. Not really perfect. It kind of weak in some areas. So I'm going to say anywhere from a 7.9 to an 8.1, I think is a pretty good rating. So, alrighty. That does it for another awesome review about video games. And the next one will probably be Shenmue 3. I'll go ahead and say, I know I don't usually plan these. They kind of just happen as I play games. And hell, as far as Kingdom Hearts is concerned, that was basically just for me. Unless you guys want me to review it, but I'd have to kind of retrace my steps a little bit with either one being Dream Drop Distance or Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, the DLC is supposed to come out in winter, so we'll see. But yeah, pretty decent game if you want to give it a try, or if you've been taking a break from Dynasty Warriors and need something to kind of jump you back in, and you don't want to wait for whatever news is coming out. Or if you want to get a head start on the full package when Warriors of Orochi 4 Ultimate comes out. But yeah, this is Flames are on, aka Sasuke signing out. See you later.